Hello everyone, Tina here. I'm back today and we are going to create a card with the Spellbinders Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club Kit and the Embossing folder of the Month Club Kit for September 2022. The stamp set is called Fall Gnomes. So adorable. I just think they're just so sweet. And the embossing folder, I love how there's florals on here. Spellbinders always makes the best florals. So we're going to create a couple of cards today. One of them using the embossing folder and then the stamp set with the coordinating die for both of the cards today. So we're going to start by doing a little bit of stamping. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do here. So I have my stamping positioner and I already put some white cardstock in here. Of course, I love the little coffee cup. We're going to stamp 2 of those. And then I think the little itty bitty gnome is just too cute. So we're going to stamp that. And there is a long sunflower. We're going to stamp this one as well. I inked up my images with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And we're going to stamp these. Oh, how cute is those? How cute is that little miniature gnome? I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, make sure it's focused here. And I'm going to play a little bit of music while I color. I have all the markers that I'm going to be using here in a cup. And we're going to color while the music plays, and then when I'm all done coloring, I will get you back. Okay, coloring is all done. We have our little gnome, our sunflower, and then we have 2 of our coffee cups. I am going to go ahead and eventually put some little white dots on my sunflower just to give it a little bit of extra dimension. But I'm going to do that after I die cut. So let's take the coordinating dies and die cut out all of our images. I want to zoom back out here. My images are all die cut out. And I think that they are just, what is it about tiny things that are just so cute? I'm going to set this aside. We are going to keep our stamp set out because we're going to stamp our sentiment. But in the meantime, we're going to do a little bit more die cutting and embossing. Kind of keeping with the orange tones. I have a card front panel of Spellbinders Beeswax cardstock. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. We're going to emboss this panel. And then I have a few die sets that we're going to use to create both of our backgrounds for our cards. I'm going to be using the Spellbinders Kaleidoscope Plaid die set. This creates a really neat plaid panel. And I'm going to take the top layer and die cut this out with white cardstock. And then I'm going to take the second layer, die cut it out with beeswax. No, this is chamomile. And then the third layer, I'm going to die cut out with persimmon cardstock. And then that's going to create a real fun background. And then I have some, these are the Spellbinders Color Block Scenic Scape dies. They create great hillsides. I have a piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to create, let's trim this down. I'm going to create just a hillside with this. And then we have, I use this so much and I love it, the Sun and Clouds die set. But for today's card, I'm just going to use the sun. And I'm going to die cut this out with our chamomile cardstock too. And then we have the Spellbinders Essential Rectangles. I want to create a small panel, so I'm going to take these two here. I'm going to die cut this out with the persimmon cardstock. We're going to layer these together. So I have a little bit of die cutting and embossing to do. When I'm all done, we're going to create some fun backgrounds for our card. Okay, so I have everything separated for each one of my little scenes, and everything is die cut. First, we're going to set this aside. And I did take one of my circle dies and die cut out a little circle because I like layers. I die cut out a circle to go with my sun here. But we're going to start with our first card. These are the layers that the Kaleidoscope creates. This is really, really fun. I do have a piece of white cardstock that we're going to adhere all of these to create a fun little window background. And I'm going to use some glue, and we're going to start by layering all of these together. And again, I just trimmed down a piece of white cardstock that would fit behind here. And that's layer one. And then I'll add my second layer. After we have our second layer, we'll add our third layer. Since this is die cut out with white, I think it's going to bring some softness. See, it kind of tones down the yellow and the orange. And that's going to go perfect on our card. And I also have a 1/2 inch strip of the persimmon cardstock, and then I have a 3 3/4 inch wide by 5.5 inches tall panel that's created with Spellbinders Saffron Color Essential Cardstock. We're going to take this. I'm going to kind of lightly tack. I'm going to probably pop this up with foam adhesive, but I'm going to tack this down where I want it on my panel here first. And we need to stamp our sentiment, but I need a guide to where I want to stamp it. For this card, I'm going to stamp "Be Thankful for the Little Things." And I'm going to heat emboss with white. I think the white's going to look really bold against the saffron cardstock. So we'll treat our paper with our anti-static powder tool. And since I don't trust myself, I'm going to bring in my stamping positioner. And we'll add our sentiment right below our little window we created. And then I'm going to ink up my sentiment with my Versamark ink. It's a watermark ink. And we'll stamp this. And then I'm going to go over this with some white embossing powder. And we'll melt it with our heat gun. I like how it's bold against that darker yellow cardstock. I'm going to take this panel that we lightly tacked down, And I'm going to flip this around. We're going to add some foam tape behind it. And then I'm going to remove the release paper. And then I'm going to actually wipe this down a little bit better. Sometimes if you take a really lightly damp towel to wipe away that powder, it works a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and take my little panel, put this in the middle. And then I have this strip. We're going to add this. So about 1/4 of an inch is showing on our card base. So let's go ahead and tack this down. I think that's nice and even. And then I'm going to take my panel here and we're going to add some adhesive on the reverse side and tack this down. I'm going to go all the way to the right with this. After we have our little panel in the center, this card we're going to go real simple, and I'm just going to take my little coffee cups. We're going to add some small foam squares behind here. I removed the release paper and I crisscrossed my little coffee cups right in the center. And it's just something real small and simple, but I love the way this looks. And I'm thankful for coffee, definitely. So I think that's super cute. Now what we're going to do is to go work on our next card. Okay, I embossed our background panel with the embossing folder of the month for September. And we're going to adhere this to a card front panel. And this one is an A2 panel as well. And then we're going to create a little scene. Now I die cut out that rectangle, and then I did cut out a piece of white cardstock to go behind it. So the polka dots that are showing will show the white behind it. I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to add some adhesive. And we'll just layer these two together. You can see those polka dots kind of stand out. And then this is what I created, a hillside. I love those polka dots. Now I'm going to take my hillside and we're going to add this to the very bottom. Before we add it though, I do want to stamp my sentiment on my hillside. Hillsides are a great place to stamp sentiments. And I'm going to stamp thankful for my Gnomes. Okay, we'll stamp our sentiment right in the middle. Cute. And I'm going to center my sentiment in between the polka dots. And then I'm going to just trim off the excess here. I'm going to take my little panel and we're going to put this right in the middle of our card base. And we're going to do a little bit of shading, and I'm just going to use the ink that's left over on my blending brush. I'm going to use my orange ink, and we're just going to do a little coloring here. I mean, he is so cute. And then I'm going to take my sunflower. I'm going to add some foam tape behind here. Okay, now we get to add some bells and whistles. Some pretty clean and simple cards today. Tomorrow I actually have another project for you guys. So check out tomorrow. I'll be creating with the same stamp set and also with the our large die of the month club kit too. I'll make a card using both of those tomorrow. But I do want to add a little bit of sparkle. I want to use my diamond stickles. And I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle to my sunflower. And I'll add a little sparkle to our hearts on our coffee cup, but this is going to give it a little bit of dimension too. Last but not least, I'm going to use my glaze and glue, my well-loved glaze and glue. I haven't used this in a while. I'm going to go over my sun here. Going to give me a little shine and dimension. The nose of my gnome. Little dimension there. And then I'm going to go over the lids of my coffee cup. And then that will finish off my cards today using the Spellbinders Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club Kit and the Embossing Folder of the Month Club Kit. The stamp set's called Fall Gnomes, and it's adorable. And I thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow for another project. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.